Executive presence for senior leaders. 6 behaviors that make people listen instantly. Have you ever shared an idea in a meeting and watched the room go quiet? Not because people were thinking about what you said, but because they were already moving on. Then 10 minutes later, someone else repeats almost exactly what you said. And suddenly everyone is nodding and you see them writing down, taking notes, calling it a brilliant idea. If that has happened to you before, you know this truth the hard way. In senior rooms, it's not just what you say, it's how you show up while you say it. Today's video, it's about how it's called the executive presence. And without this, your ideas never get the respect that they deserve, no matter how smart you are. My name is Kunle, and I once froze in front of 300 people. The host had to come and collect me from the stage. And since then, I've spent years training senior leaders across Europe and Africa to speak under pressure with calm and authority. In this lesson, I'll show you what executive presence actually is, what science says about it, and the 6 practical behaviors that you can start using this week so that people will listen the moment you open your mouth to speak. So let's start with, what is executive presence? Executive presence is the ability to inspire confidence in your boss, your team, your peers, and even your clients that you are leadership material. Research from the Center of Talent Innovation shows leaders with strong presence are up to 70% more likely to be promoted. But executive presence is built on 3 pillars: communication, appearance, and gravitas. The biggest and most influential component is gravitas. According to Dr. Sylvia Hewlett, gravitas is how you carry yourself under pressure with composure, decisiveness, and calm. And gravitas accounts for a whopping 69% of executive presence. So presence is not just showing up and opening up your chest. No, presence is not performance. We don't project presence. We transmit our internal state. You cannot project calm if your physiology is in threat mode. You cannot project authority if your biology is dysregulated. By the way, physiology is a big word that simply means how your body functions. Your breath, your posture, your hormones, your voice, your heart rate, especially how these all perform under stress. Your nervous system broadcasts what you really are, not what you hope to appear. When threat is sensed, blood is shunted away from your thinking brain to your arms, your legs, and that's why sometimes you literally lose your thoughts. But let's move on to executive presence. Executive presence is what leaks out of you when pressure squeezes you in. If we start by looking at the other side of the bridge, why do people's systems shut down when they are under pressure? Because that leads to non-executive presence, isn't it? If we unpack that, then we will take the next step. Here is what's happening biologically in your body. When you feel threatened, even mildly, your sympathetic nervous system activates. This is the flight, fight, freeze system in your body. It floods your body with cortisol and raises your heart rate. This tenses your muscles and then it narrows your vision. Your prefrontal cortex, that's the part of your brain that does your thinking for you and logical decision making, your speech, etc. That part of your brain goes offline. That's why when the CEO asks you the hard question and stares at you, your breath shortens, your face heats up, and you suddenly go blank. Although in this scenario, your intelligence is still there, but you just can't access it. It's kind of locked away. And to fix this, you need to switch your body out of survival mode, and then you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is also called the rest and digest system. This is the system that brings your breath, voice, and clarity back. And the fastest way to activate this is through your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from your brainstem to your heart, to your lungs, and your gut. It's your body's built-in safety switch. When you slow your breathing, you relax your jaw and drop your shoulders, you send a signal through the vagus nerve to your entire body. We're safe now. Your system then resets and your presence comes back online. So let's look at the executive presence formula. Executive presence formula equals identity, physiology, clarity, delivery. So identity is who you believe you are in that room. Physiology is how regulated your nervous system is at that time. Clarity, how clearly structured your message is. And delivery, your voice, your pacing, your stillness, your movement. Most people start at the end, delivery. And that is a mistake that you don't want to make. Instead of asking, how do I look confident, which most people ask, you want to ask, how do I regulate myself so that confidence leaks out of me naturally? Now, let's get into the 6 behaviors that make people listen instantly. By the way, behavior is simply your internal state that is showing up on the outside, especially under pressure or in reaction to external circumstances. These 6 behaviors build upon each other, from physical presence to verbal clarity. The first behavior is to claim the room in the first 7 seconds that you enter. And then you let your feet be planted into the ground. The grounded feet tells the nervous system will belong here. Then you drop your shoulders a bit. That unlocks the upper body tension. And that sends, of course, a safety signal through your vagus nerve to your entire body. And you know what you've just done? Before you say a word, you're already signaling gravitas. And that's the key. Now, number 2, you speak 10% slower than normal. Not as if you're making a movie, but just intentionally. Under pressure, most people speak 15 to 20% faster. That signals panic. You want to speak 10% slower. You're not slow, you're just measured. Your voice is deepening. Your words are landing with weight, and your presence expands when you do that. Number 3, you want to speak in headlines, not paragraphs. Headlines signals clarity, and clarity signals leadership. It shows that you've already done your thinking before you open your mouth. So the first one is own the pause. I call this the tennis serve when I teach it to executives. In tennis, when you serve, your job is done. You don't run across the net to help the ball land. You do the same thing in the boardroom. Deliver your point, then stop. Let your information land. A pause tells the room what you just said matters. But the untrained communicator is hurrying to fill the space with something like, just a quick update on that. Or, I hope this makes sense. Those micro apologies broadcast insecurity, and you don't want that. A pause on the other side broadcasts confidence on your behalf. So when you serve your point, wait. Number 5, answer at altitude. When senior leaders ask a question, they are listening for your level. So you want to answer with impact first, then the detail later. For example, if we don't fix this, we risk a 3-week delay. The delay is in the hands of between X and Y. They are not handing off correctly. That's altitude. That's executive presence. Number 6, regulate the system, not the symptoms. You see, most people try to appear confident, but that's like trying to appear asleep. The fact is, you're either asleep or you're not. So real presence lives in your biology. Breathe before you speak. Relax your jaw before high stakes movements. Reset your posture during transitions. It's not about looking calm. It's about being calm. Presence is not a trick. It's a state. Here's an example for how someone went from invisible to influential. I once worked with a professional in an international company. Technically, he's very brilliant, but people tuned him out. Do you know why? He rushed over his details. He over-explained. His voice would collapse under pressure, and so on and so forth. But we trained his physiology. We trained his clarity, his identity, and of course, his delivery. 6-7 months down the line, he's asked to start moderating C-suite sessions. Can you imagine that? He's asked to lead executive discussions. How can that happen? He's asked to even represent the company on the outside. And funny enough, his ideas didn't change, but his presence did. And that's the power of executive presence. So here's how you can practice. You can begin this week when you are in a space, let your shoulders drop, take regulated breaths before speaking. Speak 10% slower. Deliver your point and then pause. Don't change the ball, okay? Answer with impact, and then you regulate your system, not your symptoms. The main idea is that confidence isn't built in the moment that you speak. Confidence is built in the moment before you speak. So if you want to stop winging it, just doing whatever shows up, and if you're done losing impact because of nerves or speaking speedily or uncertainty, and if you're ready to speak with clarity, with composure and command, this is your next step. The presentation license. It's our flagship training for professionals who lead under pressure or who want to start leading under pressure. It's not a public speaking course. It's a neuroscience-based communication system that we used to train our clients across Europe, Africa, and the UK to deliver high stakes messages with precision and, of course, presence. We teach you how to regulate your nervous system, structure your message, and lead the room, whether it's a boardroom, a client meeting, or a crisis moment. And of course, to speak in front of a large audiences as well. We're taking applications now at presentationschool.com. If your ideas deserve more attention, if your voice deserves more space, if your presence needs to match your expertise, then this is your moment. Apply now to join the next presentation license cohort. See you soon. And keep your flag flying.